If you enjoy True Crime Buzz, but need some more true crime in your life, then check out this other awesome podcast that we highly recommend.
My name is John Lorden, and I've been looking into hundreds of unsolved mysteries over the past 5 years on my YouTube channel, Lorden Arts. And I've been known to bring a respectful, victim-focused approach to the stories that I cover while donating thousands of dollars directly to those cases and the charities that help them. Now, I'm bringing that approach and sensibility, along with some of the biggest mysteries I've ever looked into and some new ones, to a weekly podcast called Seriously Mysterious. From bizarre occurrences to unsolved murders and unexplainable disappearances, everything is fair game on this show as long as it's seriously mysterious. You can find Seriously Mysterious on your favorite podcatchers or by visiting seriouslymysterious.com. Let's look into the mysterious together.
Hey everyone, welcome back to True Crime Buzz. I'm your host Amber, and with me live from the closet again is Miss Brittany.
Hello.
All right, what you drinking?
I'm drinking a Diet Sam's Cola. It's nice and cold, it's dependable, and it's best for my mental stability today.
You sound like you're on QVC at like 2 o'clock in the morning trying to sell me
I don't want to sound like QVC. I want to sound like Dr. Ruth. You ever watch her?
Oh, that too. It looks nice and cold. I can see the nice glistening condensation from here.
Yes. What are you drinking?
I'm milking the last of my pumpkin beer that I got in Atlanta. Pumpkin beer just doesn't hit right when it gets towards like Christmas and stuff. It's like, oh, this is too Halloween-y for me. Even Thanksgiving, it's fine, but Christmas, So I'm trying to go ahead and drink it before all the dark stouts come out for Christmas, you know, all them heavy beers.
That's right.
So do you have any personal true crimes this week?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've had such a great day with my kids today. I have to really think about any personal true crimes that I had.
You have anything that should be a true crime?
It should be a true crime that the poor guy that delivered my package today, I don't know if he was new, but like he was really nervous. Like he was shaking.
The guy that brought
stuff.
you your Adele CD?
Yes, my Adele CD. I don't know if he knew he was like inflicting emotional harm on me by handing that over to me or what, but...
Well, maybe he was nervous because of COVID, you know? Like,
maybe.
Anytime I get a delivery from Amazon or FedEx or whatever, it always says, like, please give our drivers 6 feet of distance.
Yeah.
So maybe he was just, like, nervous to physically hand you something.
Well, I had on a mask, though, as well, because of course. But I got the vibe. Maybe he's new or, like, seasonal or something. But to any delivery driver that comes to my house, do not be nervous. Despite the paleness of my skin, I will not bite your head off and say mean things to you. So...
And you didn't come out wearing, like, a muumuu and rollers in your hair and stuff like that, right?
No. I did have on my robe. Maybe it was the robe.
I'm sure it was fine.
Okay, so what about you? You have any personal true crimes?
Well, I don't know if you can tell by my voice, but in between recordings, I've been sick, and that was a hell of a true crime in itself.
God, yes.
Having a head cold. But I'm feeling better, even though I don't sound better. So, actually, you know what? I do have one. As you know, our listeners don't, but Brittany knows that I had all this time on my hands and there was a huge chunk of my closet that I realized I never touched, that I refuse to get rid of, but I never wear. They're all my band shirts from, God, at least 20 years. And
okay, but hold on, because what our listeners don't know is that your band tees are in alphabetical fucking order.
They are in alphabetical order, yes. So what I did was I was going to put them all in this nice little tidy box thing and put it under the bed so that way I don't get rid of them, but they're out of my way.
Yeah.
But I was going through them and some of those shirts I miss wearing so much. And I realized I can't wear them anymore, not because I don't want to, but because like the older you get, it's harder to keep your weight off and lose weight.
Yeah.
There were shirts in there, Brittany, that were a youth boys size large.
Oh my God.
that I wore when I was like in my early 20s. And I was just like, oh my God. And of course, back then I was like, I'm so fat.
Of course, right?
Yeah. But there are these shirts that like I can't wear anymore, but I just refuse to get rid of them because of emotional
I've got a
memories.
solution. I've got a
What's
solution. Get them made into a quilt. There are people that do that on Etsy, and then you'll have a fucking killer rock and roll quilt to cover up with.
That is a good idea.
Okay.
I'm going to have to look into that.
Problem solved.
But enough with my boring personal true crime. What are we talking about for some real true crime this week?
Oh, guys, this is such a doozy. So today we are covering a story that is going to be 2 parts. Let me just go ahead and warn our listeners up front. And that's because...
Warn?
Yeah.
When was the last time we did a 2-parter? Dahmer?
You know, maybe some people aren't into 2-parters. So I'm just, putting it out there.
The best stories are usually 2-parters, so
Well,
I'm here for it.
It's going to be a 2-parter because the psychology in this story is as intriguing as the crime is horrific.
Yeah, I'm already in.
Okay. The deeper I dug into this Australian story, the darker and more complex it got. It's literally 10 stories in one. And how many times have I told you that very phrase this week?
Yeah, you kept telling me, it's a lot, Amber. It's a lot. I'm like,
It
that's
is.
fine. Let's do it.
And let me just go ahead and add a trigger warning because both of these episodes, besides child sexual abuse or sexual abuse of any kind, there's everything in this story. There's animal cruelty, animal neglect, animal death, some light child abuse, like it's a beer.
Light child abuse.
Some child abuse. Well, I mean, like, it's, is it, isn't it, on and on. So today we are covering Martin Bryant.
And you said it's in Australia.
It is.
You know what I want to say?
Good day, mate. I don't know.
No. Good guess. No, I want to be like, damn, Brittany, back at it again with the Australian true crime.
I know. Look, my husband put me on this story like a year ago. We watched a little YouTube documentary about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I totally want to cover that at a later date, But this documentary was like 30 minutes long. So I put it on my list. I decided to do it. And I was like, oh, yeah. And then I started digging in this shit. And I'm like, why? It put me in a really dark headspace. And I kept having to take breaks. I'm like, this is the most fucked up story.
Oh.
So buckle up, Buttercup.
I'm buckling in right now.
Martin John Bryan was born on May 7th, 1967. I laugh because my husband's birthday is May 7th, and he's the one that got me on the story, so I need to let him know that.
Yes, you do.
He was born in Hobart, Tasmania, Australia, at Queen Alexandra Hospital. He was the first son of Maurice and Carleen Bryant, and he had a younger sister named Lindy. The primary family home was at 65 Augusta Road. How many times have
Augusta.
Thank you. I feel like that's just a theme.
I feel like we need a true crime mascot or something.
Yeah, named
and
Augusta.
It should be named Augusta. What is up with that?
I'm telling you. They also had a beach home in Carnarvon Bay. And in a 2011 interview with Martin's mom, Carleen, she said that when Martin was very young, that she would find his toys broken and that he was, quote, an annoying and different child, end quote.
His mother said that about him?
Like, what the fuck?
Oh, dear. It's either true or she's a bitch.
Like, no Roberta laundry here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God.
But... I mean, I just, as a mom, I can't imagine saying those things about my child, but...
Well, I was going to say, even if it is true, if you're a good mother, you would never admit that.
Right. Like, you keep that shit buried down deep. Don't do that. That's not healthy, but that's what I would do.
Right.
He would sometimes disappear regularly from the house, so his mom would harness him to the veranda and leave him to play with toys. I mean, she'd come back and check on him, but...
Like leashing him like a dog?
Yeah, she would tie him to the veranda because he would just wander off. Like, that could be said that that's child abuse. So that's the light child abuse I'm talking about because, I don't know, like, obviously she wasn't charged with child abuse. There's no further details to indicate she was necessarily abusive, so...
But it's not cool.
No, it's not cool at all. Martin also had really low fine motor skills, and he once swallowed a nail. And by age 3, he really wasn't maturing, and it was a struggle for his parents. They disagreed on how to handle Martin. His dad just kind of wanted him to be quote-unquote normal, and his mom just she could not handle his behavior. It was overwhelming.
I mean, he sounds like a mischievous little boy, but I wouldn't put him, I mean, unless there's just detail that I don't know, I wouldn't put him in like I can't handle this. He sounds like a regular kid so far.
Well, I think also she's a first-time mom, and so to have a child that has some delays and stuff, and you don't know that, you weren't expecting it, because, you know, this is 1967 when he was born. She probably didn't know what to do, and you know, there weren't the resources then that there are now. So I think she just probably felt really overwhelmed as well. Locals have given accounts of Martin as a kid, such as him pulling another kid's snorkel off while diving, and he was sometimes cut down his neighbor's trees.
Okay.
I'm like, who the fuck does that?
That's weird.
Like, what? It is. It's so weird. It's like, what? And there's several reports of him being especially cruel to animals or killing animals in the not most humane way. I didn't really go into that because I feel like there's enough later on that, you know.
You can leave those details out.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and they're not really, like, I feel like that suffices. Obviously, we all talk about, you know, with serial killers or people that kill, they have a tendency to harm, torture, or kill animals. And
it's definitely one of the signs.
We'll just leave it at he was one of those.
Okay.
If you want to know more, it's out there. I'm not going to tell that
I take
part.
back all of my he's a normal boy. If he's killing animals or hurting animals in any way, I hate him already.
Yeah, and his dad gave him a gun when he was pretty young too, and I don't know, like, culturally at this time in Australia, that was normal or not, you know. It depends here in this, you know, like in the South, people get BB guns, you know, pretty young for Christmas and stuff. So, who's to say? I don't know, but he did have a gun pretty early. His teachers described him as, quote, distant from reality and unemotional, end quote. He was also said to be disruptive and sometimes violent at school and experienced severe bullying by other kids. Which they would have read lots of articles on bullying, and they usually say kids that bully are bullied. So.
Oh, yeah. Hurt people.
Yeah. In 1977, he was suspended from Newtown Primary School, and a psychological assessment at that time said that he tortured animals, so that was confirmed. Martin ended up returning to Newtown Primary School the following year, and his behavior did improve, but he still bullied younger kids. Easier kids to bully, you know.
Just like killing animals is easier than killing real people because they are defenseless.
Right. So then he was transferred to Newtown High School in 1980 and was in their special education program. And the further we get into this, probably you'll realize that Martin really has some intellectual setbacks and mental health issues. And actually later on, after the crime that he committed, it was discovered that he had an IQ of 66. And unfortunately, at this new school and in this new program, his academic progress and behavior declined significantly. So it didn't help him. It just kind of made things worse for him. That was basically his school career: bullying, being bullied, and his declining grades and worsening behavior, which is sad, honestly.
It is.
Sad.
Yeah.
So now let's dive a little further into Martin Bryant's psychology. After leaving school in 1983, Martin applied for disability and was assessed by a psychiatrist named Cunningham Dax, who said, quote, cannot read or write, does a bit of gardening and watches TV. Only his parents' efforts prevent further deterioration. Could be schizophrenic, and parents face a bleak future with him, end quote.
Yeah, none of that was good.
No. So Martin ended up getting disability, but did do some odd jobs such as gardening and handyman work, you know, to make a little extra cash, which his parents were well off, but I imagine it helped him like have a sense of purpose and something to fill his time besides watching TV. And you can only plant so many things in a garden, you know. But I think we can all conclude that Martin wasn't mentally well and he struggled intellectually, which is sad. And honestly, I wonder if with like the right interventions and therapies that are out there today, if we'd even be here telling this story.
Okay. So you think there was hope for him if it was like a different time?
It was really and truly a lack of the right programs, and they were non-existent at that time.
Right.
Later on, though, we'll give a broader picture of Martin's issues. But for now, let's jump into the story a little further. The next 3 years of Martin's life were pretty quiet. Martin's dad, Maurice, cared for him and kept an eye on him as much as possible. But then in 1987, Martin met Helen Mary Elizabeth Harvey, a 54-year-old heiress to her grandfather David Hasty Harvey's gambling empire. He had been the general manager to George Adams, the creator of Tattersall Gambling.
Okay.
Helen was described... I hate this description, guys, but I didn't write this. This is what my research shows. Don't come for me. Helen was described as an eccentric, heavier lady with a few missing teeth, body odor, and out-of-date clothes that need to be washed.
Well, damn.
Yeah, I mean, let's remember, though, like, she had lots of money, so it wasn't like she was poor, and, you know, I felt horrible, like, having to write that down. It's a horrible description of someone. I'm sure she was lovely.
Don't come for Brittany. Go to our sources and go for
That's
them.
right. Don't really, though. Although Helen had worked for the railroad for a few years, after her father's death, she moved home to be a living caretaker for her mom, Hilza. Helen and her mom were very reclusive, like never left the house pretty much. And Martin met Helen by noticing the overgrown yard and garden beds and thought that the owner of the property could be a potential new client for his landscaping side hustle. You know, like,
Okay.
I could fix up this yard. I could do some things, cut these vines off the house. So he knocked on the door and he spoke with Helen. Helen agreed for Martin to do some yard work and other chores, and they immediately became friends.
Aw.
Like stepbrothers. Did we just become best friends?
Yup.
Okay, it's just like that. That's what I envision.
Like when you and I first met.
Yes, exactly.
You like Backstreet Boys too?
Oh my gosh.
Your mom's a nurse in a nursing home too? Yup.
Yep. As we said over shared nursing home food for dinner.
Yes.
It should be noted that Helen's house was very, very unsanitary, and she and her mom lived in the upstairs rooms on opposite ends of the house. And downstairs they had 14 dogs, and in the garage around 40 cats.
Oh my gosh. So we're talking like some hoarders.
Yeah, of animals. Hoarders of animals.
Yeah.
Okay. And they were just, the dogs were able to just run around. Like that was their floor. The first floor was their floor, which is probably what really kept them so reclusive.
I couldn't imagine. I have one dog and one cat, and like that's too much. I mean, I'm here for like animal sanctuaries who do it properly, but like not for personal. No. Go to a zoo, people.
Exactly. So eventually, Helen gave Martin the responsibility of also feeding the animals. So these animals were fed and watered. Not good conditions, but they were fed and watered. They were not being starved or anything. And so through Martin coming around and helping out, Martin and Helen's friendship blossomed. And later in life, Martin told forensic psychiatrist Professor Paul Mullen that Helen had been his only real friend, but that the relationship was never sexual. So they never got it on, which I honestly think is wise, but they were the best of friends.
Well, that's sweet.
Sure it is.
Well, thus far.
I mean, I'm glad he has a friend, and I'm glad she has a friend. Don't get me wrong, but like their relationships.
Even psychopaths need friends, all right?
I don't know what I would even classify this as. To my therapist, if you're listening, let me know. Unfortunately, as Helen and Martin's friendship blossomed, the amount of care and attention Helen's mom, Hilza, got decreased, and so did the upkeep of their home. Someone called the health authorities, which I guess is like Australia's DSS type of deal, in June of 1990. And when medics arrived, they found poor Hilza in an upright chair where she had been forced to sleep day and night with an undiagnosed and untreated broken hip. And both Hilza and Helen had infected leg ulcers and were pretty much living in this nasty kitchen filled with unwashed dishes covered in mold and animals roaming freely all over the house. So, needless to say, feces and urine as well.
Ugh.
But fortunately, the medics weren't judgy about the situation, because it's so easy to be judgy, but what's it going to do?
Well, yeah. I was going to say, too late, because we are.
Yeah, we're judging, but we're not there to help them. So I'm glad they were not judgy. And they made it clear to them that they were only there to help, which is probably also good, because otherwise they might have refused the help. Hilza was in the hospital for a few weeks before being transferred to a nursing home where she passed away at the end of July.
Oh, so not very long.
No, made it about a month. But I think like her infection, her broken hip, her age.
The gangrene sets in. It's
I don't think it wasn't good. Meanwhile, while Helen was in the hospital recovering, the RSPCA, which is, I assume, the SPCA,
for the animals.
Yeah, they took away most of the animals, not all. So, maybe there were some that were not doing so well or things like that. So they took them away to get the proper care. But most of them were gone. And they put out a cleanup order in place for the house. Martin's dad, Maurice, felt awful about the situation once he discovered this, obviously. So what he did was he took a long leave from work so that he and Martin could clean this place up. Like the two of them.
Love that.
I love that.
I love that.
Yay, Maurice. It took 3 months of scrubbing every surface in every room, a dozen dumpsters, and Helen's entire wardrobe getting thrown out. But Martin and Maurice got that place clean.
If you're looking for ways to skip the trip to the post office and dodge all that hectic holiday shopping traffic, why not save time and money with Stamps.com? Stamps.com lets you compare rates, print labels, and access exclusive discounts on UPS and USPS services all year long. It just makes sense, especially if your business sends more mail and packages during the holidays. Whether you're selling online or running an office or even a side hustle like us, Stamps.com can save you so much time, money, and stress during the holidays. Access all the post office and UPS shipping services you need without taking the trip, and get discounts you can't find anywhere else, like up to 40% off USPS rates and 76% off UPS. Going to the post office instead of using Stamps.com is kinda like taking the stairs instead of the elevator. Just going up a couple of floors? Sure, take the stairs. Walking up 30 flights a day? You could use a break. If you spend more than just a few minutes a week dealing with mail and shipping, Stamps.com is a lifesaver. You'll save so much time and money, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. Save time and money this holiday season with Stamps.com. Sign up with promo code POD for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code POD. That's P-O-D POD. Stamps.com. Never go to the post office again.
When Helen was released from the hospital and able to live at her house again, Martin platonically moved in too. Again, not a sexual relationship, guys.
Okay.
That's reiterated throughout, so I don't know, but...
Like, guys, they weren't fucking.
They weren't fucking, dude. Like, well, I think because of Martin's IQ and stuff, like, would it even be ethical? You know, we don't really know her mental health issues and stuff. Obviously, she had some. So would it even be ethical for the two of them to be sexually together? Maybe that's why they reiterate it. Martin and Helen spent their time eating lunches out and looking for things to collect to fill Helen's empty home with. But, now look, I say that, and immediately I'm like, oh, the hoarding. But you gotta think this woman literally, like, there was no furniture, there was no clothes, there was no nothing that she came back to. Nobody was keeping those moldy plates, you know.
Oh, I see. Okay. I was gonna say, guys, this vicious circle is starting all over again.
Yeah, no, then she gets into something kind of weird. Helen's huge thing was buying cars from a dealership, and then she would keep them for a short time before getting rid of them. Like a couple days sometimes, a couple weeks, a month, and then she'd get rid of them.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's a first that I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But as the months went on, Martin's behavior started getting worse. He started having more depressive and angry moods, and his behavior became more erratic. He started making threats, and his temper became hotter and hotter. And no one sought him help during this time, but because he was on disability, he had to submit a routine psychiatric assessment, and this assessment was much darker and really where Martin should have been placed somewhere for some inpatient care.
I was gonna say, way to go Australia for doing that, but
yeah.
Where's the follow-up?
I don't know.
Like you said, there should have been some intervention here, and there wasn't.
Some inpatient care, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The assessment reads in part, quote, "Father protects him from any occasion that might upset him, as he continually threatens violence. Martin tells me he would like to go around shooting people. It would be unsafe to allow Martin out of his parents' control," end quote. It would be unsafe to allow him out of his parents' control. Get the fuck out of here.
So why is he not in a home?
You need to get him out of his parents' house and into like a hospital, and let's get some medications and some therapy and...
Right.
You know...
Like, what is the point of the psychiatric eval if there's not going to be anything afterwards?
I don't know. And I bet literally that every doctor or every person that assessed him or dealt with him or knew about him strongly regrets they did not do more. But honestly, I really think Maurice thought that he could do this on his own. I really do think he thought that. Like, I'm going to keep him at home and I'm going to watch him. You know, that's a hard decision and a hard call to make as a parent.
Which
but
is somewhat understandable.
As a medical professional, what the fuck?
No, yeah, exactly.
Maurice, Martin's dad, said that the assessment confirmed his darkest fears about his son and made the worries about his son getting worse true. You know, he was aware. It's not like he was like, oh, he's doing fine. He's okay. He knew. But this scared Maurice, and so in November of 1991, Maurice set up a will and filed it with the public trustee's office. This will stated that his son would have a difficult time managing life once Maurice passed, and Maurice said that the home in Newtown should go to Carlene, his wife, but if she passed, the home should be split between Martin and his sister Lindy. However, realizing that Martin would most likely need extra help and resources, Maurice left Martin the proceeds of his life insurance policy through Commonwealth Life Policy that totaled out to be more than $250,000. Shortly after Maurice filed his will, 3 weeks to be exact, Helen Harvey filed her own will, naming Martin Bryant as a trustee. It said, I leave my fortune to, quote, my friend Martin Bryant for his own absolute use and benefit, end quote.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she actually used that quote 4 different times in her will, as she promised Martin everything, including but not limited to her livestock, animals, birds, a farm in nearby Copping, her Clare Street mansion, and her Tattersall's inheritance.
Wow.
Yep. So Martin was slated to be a multi-millionaire once his father and best friend passed away. Can you imagine, though? Like, he don't need that much money? At this point in life, Martin and Helen had moved to the 29-acre property in Copping. It was run down, but perfect in the minds of Helen and Martin, because it gave them the ability to have animals in their home again, unlike Clare Street. The Copping property was smack in the middle between Hobart and Port Arthur. Helen and Martin called the farm Taurusville and very quickly moved animals to their residence. I didn't find anything that said it was like tons of animals or they were all inside. This is obviously a farm, so I'm sure they had barns and stuff. You know, I'm not sure. It's just they moved animals there. It didn't say an excess amount, but, you know, I don't know. These people are weird with some animals.
I was going to say, I think it's safe to assume it was a large amount.
I would say. Although, I don't know. Maybe... because I don't know enough about Helen's intellect or her, you know, mental state that I can't honestly say if she was like, oh, you know what, let me not do that. I want some animals, but not...
But we know her history, and that's enough for me.
Yes, we do. The neighbors around Taurusville were very skeptical and concerned about Martin. They watched him from afar and tried as nice as they could to refuse offers of friendship for Martin. Like, thanks, bro. No thanks. Decline on that friendship, bud. They tried to be nice about it. But neighbors said that he was unpredictable and erratic and that he could go from, quote, foolhardy schoolboy to temperamental spoiled brat or worse in seconds, end quote. So quick turnaround time on those emotions.
Well, and nobody likes a grumpy Gus.
No.
I mean, if you're trying to make friends, that's not the way to do it.
No, it's not.
I know intellectually he doesn't understand that. I'm just saying.
Around this time, Martin also changed how he dressed and started roaming nearby neighbors' properties in the middle of the night, uninvited, obviously. The neighbors were understandably scared because they wouldn't see Martin but would hear their dogs going bananas and sometimes hear Martin shooting his air rifle that he constantly carried with him.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night.
Again, not a way to make friends, bro.
No, not at all. And during this time, Helen and Martin were back to their old way of life. They slept in, wandered around town shopping. Oftentimes, the car they drove would be filled with animals, cats, dogs, and even miniature ponies while they dined. Oh, they said that they put a miniature pony in their back seat and like roll the window down.
Listen, aside from everything else in this story, just this moment alone, if you cannot picture me and you doing this and living our best life...
1,000%. But really, I'd be that person to take the pony to brunch with me. Like, come on, buddy.
Yes.
You know?
I'll have the endless mimosas. Mr. Sparkles over here will have the endless carrots.
That's right.
I'm here for that part.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
It's an interesting, like, visual, though.
Yes.
Of course, passerbys thought this was weird as hell, and it bothered them. And naturally, as in most small towns, rumors started flying about Martin and Helen because they did some weird stuff. Just besides, you know, leaving animals in cars while they dined, they also left cash laying all over their house, under books, or in ice cream cartons. Like, large amounts of cash, no less. So it's just, like, laying around.
Rich people problems.
I think it was like carelessness, though. I don't think it was like showy. I think like literally they were just living their best life.
No, like rich people problems. Like so much I don't know where to put it.
Yeah, I don't know. Crazy.
Things we will never know.
Facts on that. So Martin had never gotten his license or he had never learned to drive.
Good thing you got a friend.
Yeah. Right, though? And Martin said that this was because he was scared that he would fail, which is sad, too. Like, bud... give it a go.
Oh.
But around the time that Martin was 25, he began to become an unpredictable and dangerous passenger when Helen was driving. Martin developed a childlike impulse, one he couldn't prevent and one he didn't understand the repercussions of.
Is he the reason we have child locks today?
You know? No.
I mean, when did child locks come out? It had to be around this time.
Did Martin Bryant cause child locks?
I mean, what did he do when she was driving? Try to grab the wheel or like...
This impulse was that he would, out of nowhere, ding, 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 with no warning, reach across Helen and just jerk the hell out of the steering wheel.
Yep, I saw it coming. I just picture a child, like, not being respectful of the driver. First impulse, grab
I
the
wonder what's
steering
going to
wheel.
happen if I do this, you know?
Yeah.
At least twice, this caused Helen to run off the road, and once they went up an embankment, and the second time they flew off the road and into a drain. And because Martin did this frequently, and Helen never knew when it was going to happen, Helen went as slow as possible, never going above 37 miles per hour. And let me tell you guys, I had to go on Google and, like, change kilometers to miles per hours and
all
sorts of measurements, because I couldn't. I'm like, if I tell Amber this, of course, like, people that listen to us in Australia or other places that use different measuring systems, of course, will get that. But to me and to Amber,
it means nothing.
60 kilometers an hour, that means not shit. And again, I would like to reiterate that this was a childlike impulse and not a death wish. Like, he had no ill intent. He wasn't trying to take her.
He thought he was being funny.
I don't know. Like, she never said he laughed. It was just really like an impulse. Like, he couldn't help himself. He would just, you know? On October 20th, 1992, Martin and Helen decided to go north of Copping to a bigger city to do some shopping. So they loaded 3 of their dogs into their Mazda 121 and headed out on their shopping excursion. They made it there and did some shopping and then decided to head back a little after 5 p.m.
Sounds fun.
Right, though? Does sound like a fun day. The sun was just starting its descent, and it would be dark over an hour later. They were driving up a straight uphill stretch of road when Helen veered into oncoming traffic and was hit head-on by a Ford sedan.
Oh, no.
Police arrived at the scene and found that Helen had died. Her neck snapped on impact. One of the poor doggos had also died, and the other one had life-threatening injuries. And the third dog, by the grace of God, was perfectly fine. Not a scratch on that pup.
That is so sad.
It is so sad. And I tried to find out if the second dog lived, but there's no information. Martin was struggling to live and was taken to the hospital where he was diagnosed with 2 fractured vertebrae. And Martin told cops that Helen had been distracted by the dogs fighting in the back seat.
Which is a lie.
Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know.
It's a lie.
I mean, I assume he jerked the wheel out of her hand, but I mean, it's totally possible too. I don't, like...
Come on, Brittany, you're smarter than this.
I'm trying to give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. Factually, I don't know.
This is a true crime podcast. The benefit of the doubt is a very small area.
It is. But, however, no charges were filed on Martin. So...
Okay.
Who knows? We do. But the police believed it. Maurice posted a bereavement in the Mercury newspaper a few days later that read, quote, "From quiet homes and first beginnings, out to undiscovered ends, there's nothing worth the wear of winning but laughter and the love of friends," end quote.
I mean, that's a pretty cute poem.
It is.
But I am wondering, and you may touch on this, like how, when he's pulling the wheel, he thinks it's all fun and games, but like his best friend just died. So like, how is he...
Oh, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Because I, too, thought the same thing.
Like, where's his mind at now?
Yes. So once Martin was released from the hospital, he went back to the Bryant family home to recover and be cared for. Maurice tried to be as attentive to Martin as possible, but despite his best efforts, Martin began to regress. He had lost his best friend. He was devastated, and he longed for companionship, anything to try to fill the void Helen left the day she tragically died. He was devastated.
I hate that.
And of course, let's, again, before I read this next comment, remember the psychology and mental state and intellect this poor man had. But he was so lonely that he tried to get kids in the neighborhood as young as 9 to play games with him. But, of course, the neighborhood kids were wary of him and oftentimes scared of him. And, like, understandably, stranger danger.
Right.
But, like, that's how lonely and sad and how very childlike Martin was.
It's very Ed Gein.
Well, and he was childlike,
Yeah. That's why I was very Ed Gein.
It is.
Like the mind of a child, but he is an older man. And so, yeah.
So I don't think it was something creepy. I didn't get that vibe from the story.
More lonely and sad.
Yeah, on his part, it wasn't creepy. But of course, the kids and parents, it's way creepy. But he was really lonely and he was really depressed. So shortly after Helen's death, Maurice, Martin's dad, feeling the extreme pressure of caring for Martin and the sadness from Helen's death, went to his primary doctor, Dr. Bernard Mather. That's right, Bernard, like your cat.
And he is literally trying to bust the door down as we're recording.
He must have heard his best friend say his name.
Like the door keeps shaking and I keep hearing meow, meow,
meow. Maurice said that he was living in a state of constant anxiety, overwhelming sadness, and severe depression. He was begging for help. And this was actually the second time in 6 months that he had asked for help. And this was very unlike Maurice to admit that, because mental health and guys, they're taught not to feel their feelings. We all know this. Yep. Not right. But he was that desperate. So 2 times in 6 months, he's reaching out like, hey, I'm depressed. I'm not okay. I need help. So good for Maurice.
Okay.
Yes. For recognizing his own mental health struggles and asking for help. Sometimes it's hard to do, for men especially. Yeah. So 10 points to Maurice.
He's already got several points in this story.
Yes. So Dr. Mather put him on an antidepressant called prothionin. Also around this time, Maurice came to the realization that if he were to pass, Martin would blow through his inheritance since he lacked impulse control. So Maurice filed for a court order under the Mental Health Act so that a third party would manage Martin's finances and basically, give him an allowance that he could spend as he wished to.
Again, points to Maurice.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Proactive. And
this man tried his best, y'all. He tried his best.
He really did.
And nothing against Carlene. I didn't see anything about her at this time. Obviously, her and Maurice are still married, so I'm sure she's helping in some ways. Unfortunately, I didn't find any articles or anything out there that were discussing so much how she helped. So no hate to Carlene, just Maurice is the MVP of the story. Also secretly, Maurice also dropped his name off of the joint account, his bank account with his wife Carlene, and transferred bills and utilities into Carlene's name without ever telling her. On Friday, August 13th, 1993, Maurice told Carlene he needed some alone time to reset, which is understandable, and Carlene, she got it. So Maurice drove up to Copping to spend the weekend. That evening at 7:30 p.m., Maurice called Carlene, and he seemed quiet, and the call seemed strange. Carlene said, quote, over all the years when any of us would travel to Port Arthur, we would always telephone to say when we arrived safely. On Friday evening, Maurice telephoned and said very little other than, I love you. At the time, I was surprised as he had not said that before when calling, and so I assumed he had had a few drinks. End quote.
I don't like where this is going.
You shouldn't. But it makes me sad that Maurice and Carlene have been married all this time, and they didn't say I love you on the phone.
Yes. That's very sad.
Maurice also called his daughter Lindy to tell her that he loved her, but that was it. No call to Martin or anyone else for that matter. The next morning, Saturday the 14th, a man came to the Copping house to inquire about an ad in the newspaper for a horse float. The man knocked several times and no one answered. That's when the man noticed a note stuck to the door that said, quote, call the police, end quote. So of course, the man went home and immediately called the authorities. Police were quick to arrive, 20 cadets to be exact, and several volunteer firefighters all showed up to look for Maurice. It took 2 days for authorities to locate Maurice Bryant. They found Maurice face down in roughly 3 feet of water in the dam at the back of the house. He had weighed his body down and had tied Martin's diving belt around his neck and torso. This part got me. It got me so hard, because this poor man. He also had a pack of antidepressants in his pocket and had taken 18 of the 30-milligram tablets of Serapax. Maurice lost his battle with anxiety and depression, though it should be noted he clearly fought very hard for a long time to win this battle. Unfortunately, his cause of death was clearly suicide.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is. It's literally the fucking worst.
Because he literally was, such a good dad and
He tried so
hard. I guess he just got to a point where he
couldn't anymore. He couldn't. And that's so sad to me.
That's the saddest.
And it's hard for me to say, but I have heard from several people that they've had family members commit suicide and they blame themselves all the time. And, even though they shouldn't, that's typical in a lot of situations. Yeah. And how does that play out for Martin, with his issues that he has?
The one person that was, well, again, we don't know about Carlene, but the one person that we know for sure did everything for him.
Was Martin's ride or die, for sure.
And got him to this part in life.
Yes. And that's where we were pausing today's episode.
No!
Yes. Join us next week to learn about how Martin's father's death impacted him and to find out about the horrific and tragic crime that Martin committed that landed him on our podcast, unfortunately.
Love our podcast? Then hit that subscribe button and leave us a review.
We're also on Patreon. Head on over to patreon.com/truecrimebuzz and join today for access to all our exclusive content, including bonus episodes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TC Buzz Podcast.
And check out our website at www.truecrimebuzz.com.
Until next time, cheers.